Okay, thank you, Tom. Just to let everybody know, I'm the managing director. I'm not the CEO, which means I kind of have a nebulous title and I do a little bit of everything for organizations. I'm also consultant and I've worked with a lot of different groups and have a lot of experiences from recruiting. So the place to start now, when I look at the audience here today, I want to say most of you are established. There may be a few new startups, but I want to say, do you know what you're looking for? Are you a startup? Are you a restart? Are you starting over? And then why are you doing that? On your business plan, what's happening with you in the next 5 years? Remember, what was no longer is. It's a new world and there's new trends, and it's even including technology and who your audience is for what you're doing. Are you keeping up with the trends? And does your board reflect the new economy, the new population, and also your community? So that's where the diversity comes in. But you got to ask yourself these questions even before you recruit anything. You want to take an inventory. What is it you really need based on what you want to accomplish? What's happening in your business? Do you have holes? So based on your mission plan, you look at the next 5 years, and does your plan match up with all the economic trends and what's going on? Then you want to look at your board and you want to create a matrix, what they bring to the board based on what your business plan is. And I'm going to say, and then you have pros and cons, and you have to remember you have willingness versus ability, and you got to weigh that. In some cases, willingness may be more important than ability because they can learn that piece of it, or they happen to live in that community or in that circle and are more familiar with it. So some of the technical stuff they can learn, as you go on. Then you need to think about keeping, removing, and I'll say fixing or renovate. In other words, new responsibilities. And so when you look at your list, when you do your pros and cons and you make your matrix of everybody, this is kind of personal because you're the ones that are interacting with these people. You know what they've contributed over the years. But I found even in some of my businesses that some of the stuff that people are contributing is now out of date. And that is no longer a contribution to where I'm going tomorrow. So I got to look at that and go, oh gosh, is there a different role that board member could play? Or do we ask them to move along? Okay. Now, how you get through the whole moving along thing is what Tom talked about. That letter of commitment and responsibility, you renew it every January at your big annual meeting, whenever you have your meeting. Okay. That's also the meeting that they make a commitment to help fund the organization. Because if you remember, in the old world, a board was to find all the funding, even though they had responsibility for a fiduciary stuff, but to find the funding or to be a working board. This may, in a whole new world, it may be changing up for you. I've worked on working boards and I've worked on donating boards, and it's two different animals. You may need a mix. So think about that. So what's most important? They have the commitment letter, they renew it every year. You ensure that they understand. Let's say you have a junior board. Now, we've had junior boards and they're fabulous because they give you all what's happening next and what's in the trends and who's going to have the new jobs. If they're of age, then they can be on the board as a fiduciary member. If they're younger, no, they cannot. So you have to think about that. But it's important to have those kids on the board in some capacity, even if it's, or I'll say as a volunteer. All right, so and then they have to know that this is public funds, nothing is private in any of it. So now when you're going to make the commitment, I'm going to say, what's in it for them? Okay, there has to be, when you do that letter of agreement, and you're talking to people about this, you're going to need to ask them, why would they want to be on your board? And you need to have a list of good reasons in your head what that works that you think is a match. Why would somebody want to be on your board? Just for the name, for the prestige? Or do they understand that they need to participate and that they are fiduciary, they have responsibility financially? Really important. And then you're going to ask them about basic needs. In other words, what can they bring to the table? Okay, that's really important. So what they need from this and what you need from that. So, and then you've got to, let's say you're going to now after, and I know I'm talking about already recruiting, but here you are, you have to have, how do I say, a leap of faith in regards to trust, because you have to give, as Tom said, you have to give these members some responsibility. Otherwise, they're not going to engage with you. After a while, they're going to like, why do I have to show up at board meetings? I don't have to do anything. I'm not responsible. I don't get any personal credit for anything. All of those things are very, very important. And some of them you don't know right away. So it is a leap of faith on your part. But hopefully, if you've done your homework and in talking to these people and in the whole, I'm going to say the relationship process, you've come to like them, understand what they could contribute, and then you get them to sign on to that commitment. And when you do the commitment, there should be a donation. I don't care if it's $5, but there should be some financial, because any board report or any grant report is going to say, do all your members contribute? And that has to be a financial contribution. Not much, okay? And I've even made contributions on some of our younger ones because they serve in other ways, okay? But I put it in their name. All right, so what else can I tell you about that? All right, then I have some a good story and a bad story. Now, in one nonprofit, the celebrity status, new startup, hired a great consultant. There was a little money from the first donation from the startup. They brought in high-level board members. Well, the board members were so far beyond the new CEO of the organization that the person got overwhelmed and it broke down, because they didn't have the circle of trust to give responsibilities in regards to their mission, in regards to what they thought their mission is or what they were trying to accomplish. So that was it really went haywire, and they left one after one, and they had to start all over again with people who could grow with this new organization. A good experience was Annenberg had a recruitment event, in which time we went and we had all our questions that we wanted to know. And then I would just go up and approach people and talk to them about what we did, and then talk to them about what they did. And we have to find a few excellent candidates who really liked what we did, okay, and were willing to use their skills. This is the agreement. In one case, it was a manufacturing salesperson, and he could sell garbage to a garbage man. Well, which is exactly what I needed for sponsorships, okay? Now, he was not necessarily in my industry, but he liked my industry. So here you have that willingness and ability and the expertise, and you got to weigh out, all right? So when I know what we want, and then we go and we talked about relationships. Now, what happens if you live in a community, you don't have relationships within your exact business? Well, what other businesses are in your community? Because you want to try and at least try to get people from the community who understand, okay? And then you want to know, what was I going to say there? Outside of them being there, a business that could support it and bring in sponsors eventually, because you're going to make these relationships with these people. So there's a lot of different strategies on how you go about getting people, either through schools or churches, or maybe you collaborate with another nonprofit that has similar responsibilities or has a mutual outcome. And then you find somebody who's excellent who might come over to your side. You have to get out and talk to people every day about what it is you do. And then, as I say, I can't always rely on board members, because some of my board members would say, or the old time ones too, I only know so-and-so and they gave some money and that's it. I don't get out. So you have to really evaluate the people you've got in-house that can help you. It may not be every single board member. You may have a board member that's really good on something else, but they could never handle going after, they're not a people person. They take care of all your finances, your accounting. So basically, you have to get out there. You have to know what you want. You have to be able to ask the questions and see how it's going to fit into your 5-year plan. All right. And then you want to get people that can have relationships with each other. So you get a few younger members of the board, so that because they're going to kind of, collect together. And of course, Tom said a buddy. Buddy is very important. And giving them a job that, how do I say that, circle of trust, where you're giving them a responsibility to see how they do. You can't just have them come on board and let them just sit there. They have to be able to do something. So that's my bad experience, my good experience, willingness, ability, knowing what you want, making sure that you get that commitment letter. Oh yeah, knowing the strategic projects. Oh, here's the other thing. How many board members do you really need to get done what you need to do? Too many cooks in the kitchen can spoil the broth, as they say. So you really need to define, and I do make a list. What do you really need, and are you getting the most out of that person? I would even do that for work. I only hired the most qualified people I could find for the jobs. And some of them did those jobs better than, knew more than I did. But that's great because that's their area of expertise. And then they teach the rest of the team. And you got to make it a team effort. There has to be a quarterly or semi-annual meetings where they get to go to lunch and talk with talk about what's going on in the business, what's news in the business. You got to keep everybody current. Okay, that's enough of me. I could keep talking.